Two men found the richest gold mine in Canadian history, and then they ceased to exist. Not they moved away, not they spent their fortune and disappeared into retirement. I mean, they walked into the Canadian wilderness in 1873, and not a single confirmed trace of them was ever found again. No bodies, no equipment, no gold, nothing. These were not naive men. These were not dreamers or amateurs. Leroy McIntyre and Frank Hamilton were among the most experienced prospectors operating in Canada in the 1870s. And they still vanished, completely, permanently. But here's what no one talks about. It's not just that they disappeared. It's what they said before they left. Stay with me, because this story goes somewhere deeply, deeply dark. Before we talk about what happened to them, I need you to understand who they were. Leroy McIntyre was, by accounts from that era, a quiet man. Not unfriendly, just careful. The kind of man who watched a room before he walked into it. Who listened more than he talked. Who had learned, through years of hard experience in some of the most brutal terrain on earth, that silence kept you alive and noise got you killed. Frank Hamilton was different. Hamilton was the talker. The one who could walk into a trading post after 6 months in the wilderness and have the entire room laughing within 20 minutes. Imagine you are sitting across from these two men at a campfire somewhere in the Canadian interior. The year is 1872. The night is cold, the kind of cold that gets into your bones and stays there. Hamilton is telling some story about a trading post 3 weeks back. McIntyre is sharpening a knife, barely smiling, but listening. These are real men, men with histories, men with plans, men who fully intended to come home rich. They had been prospecting together for several years by the time they made the discovery. They were partners in the truest sense, each one compensating for the other's weaknesses. McIntyre read the land. Hamilton handled the people. Together, they were formidable. But that's not the darkest part. The darkest part is what the wilderness had waiting for them. In the early 1870s, McIntyre and Hamilton were following river systems through the Canadian interior. Rivers carry gold downstream from its source. You follow the water upstream, you pan as you go, you track the increasing density of gold particles, and eventually, if you're skilled enough and lucky enough and alive enough, you find the source. Most prospectors spent entire lifetimes following rivers and finding nothing significant. McIntyre and Hamilton found everything. The accounts from that era describe what they found as a mother lode, the original source vein from which all downstream gold traces flow. We're not talking about a few flakes. We're talking about a deposit so rich that when they described it to people back in civilization, even those people went quiet. McIntyre and Hamilton were not the type to exaggerate. Everyone who knew them said the same thing. These were not men who oversold. So when they came back to the nearest settlement and told people what they had found, people believed them. They needed more supplies. They were going back. They would be rich men within the year. That was the last confirmed account of either man. But what no one talks about is the warning they received before they left. The warning was not vague. It was not be careful out there or the winter comes fast. It was specific. It was about place. McIntyre and Hamilton thanked whoever warned them, gathered their supplies, and walked back into the trees. No one talks about what researchers found when they tried to investigate what happened next. At first, nobody panicked. Prospectors disappeared for months. This was normal, expected even. 6 months, a year. The people who had spoken with them started asking questions. Has anyone heard from McIntyre? What about Hamilton? The answer every time was the same. Nothing. In 150 years of historical investigation, researchers, historians, journalists, treasure hunters, no one has found a single verified trace of either man after they walked back into that wilderness. Not a campsite, not a tool, not a journal entry, not a grave marker, not a land claim filed in their names. 2 experienced men, a known departure point, a described general direction, an absolute, total, permanent silence. The wilderness didn't just take them, it erased them. Theory 1, the wilderness. A single injury, a broken ankle, a deep cut that went septic, a fall into freezing water, could kill the most experienced man alive within days. Theory 2: murder. Claim jumping, stealing another prospector's discovery, by force if necessary, was common. Murder over gold was not rare. If McIntyre and Hamilton were followed, if someone tracked them back to that mine, 2 bodies in the Canadian wilderness in 1873 were not a crime scene. They were just 2 more men who didn't come back. Theory 3: the curse. Indigenous knowledge systems in Canada are not superstition. They are accumulated data, generations of observation about how specific places behave. They were not the first people warned about that area. They were simply the last people warned who have names we can attach to the story. Imagine you receive that warning today. Someone with generations of knowledge about a specific piece of land looks you in the eye and tells you, people who go there do not come back. Do you go? They went. The gold is still there. In 150 years, the mine that McIntyre and Hamilton described has never been definitively located, never been claimed, never been worked, never been found. Leroy McIntyre and Frank Hamilton were real men. They had real lives, real ambitions, real fear and real excitement when they found what they spent years searching for. And then the Canadian wilderness took them, completely, permanently, without explanation. Their gold was never found, but their story belongs to everyone who refuses to let it disappear.